When you first power on the DJI Action 6, it feels like the kind of camera that doesn't ask much from you. You press record, point it at something interesting, and it just works. And to be fair, that's one of its biggest strengths. Modern action cameras have become incredibly capable in auto mode. If you're brand new, you can absolutely leave everything untouched and still get usable footage. But after spending some real time with the Action 6, something becomes very clear. Out of the box, it plays it safe. It prioritizes reliability, battery life, and broad compatibility over image character. And with just a few thoughtful changes, you can push this camera much further without turning it into a complicated setup that slows you down. This video is not about chasing perfect settings or turning your action camera into a cinema rig. It's about unlocking better motion, more natural detail, and footage that feels intentional instead of overly processed. These are the changes I make immediately, and more importantly, the reasons behind them. Let's start with video quality, because this is where everything begins. By default, the Action 6 records at a standard bit rate. It's efficient and safe, but it also compresses the image more aggressively. When there's a lot of movement, fine detail, or texture in the scene, that compression becomes visible. Turning the bitrate to high gives the camera more data to work with. Motion looks cleaner, gradients look smoother, and fast scenes hold together better. Yes, file sizes increase. Yes, the camera can generate more heat, but in real outdoor use, especially when you're moving, the benefits outweigh the trade-offs. The footage simply looks more solid. DJI also added a setting called Video Quality Priority. This tells the camera to favor image quality over efficiency. It's not something you need on all the time, but for action shots, short clips, and moving footage, it noticeably improves detail and motion rendering. The important thing is understanding when to use it. If you're filming long static scenes in a hot environment, you may want to turn it off. If you're filming dynamic movement, it's absolutely worth enabling. Now let's talk about resolution and frame rate. Out of the box, many cameras still default to 1080. That's fine for quick clips, but the Action 6 sensor really shines in 4K. Even if your final export is 1080, starting in 4K gives you cleaner detail, better downscaling, and more flexibility. You can crop slightly, stabilize in post, or reframe without losing quality. Frame rate is a personal choice, but filming at 60 frames per second gives you options. Motion looks smoother, and you have the flexibility to slow things down slightly if you want. Even when played back at full speed, 60 frames often feels more refined in fast action scenarios. Now, stabilization, which is one of the most important parts of any action camera. For most everyday filming, rocksteady is the best option. It smooths motion without completely removing natural movement. That subtle movement matters as it keeps the footage feeling alive instead of artificial. Rocksteady is the mode I leave on most of the time because it balances stabilization and realism extremely well. Horizon steady is impressive, but it's a specialized tool. It locks the horizon completely, even if the camera rotates. This can be amazing for certain activities, but it comes at the cost of heavy cropping. You lose field of view, and the footage can feel tighter. It's great when you need it, but not something you want enabled all the time. Field of view plays a bigger role than people realize. Ultra-wide looks exciting, but it introduces heavy distortion. Straight lines curve, and movement can feel exaggerated. Natural wide reduces that distortion while keeping the immersive feel. Wide gives you the classic action camera look. For most situations, wide or natural wide feels the most balanced. Now we move into image processing, where most action cameras get a little too aggressive. Out of the box, the Action 6 sharpens the image quite a lot. DJI labels this setting as texture. High texture makes footage look sharp on small screens, but it often creates halos and unnatural edges. Reducing texture to -1 or -2 immediately makes the image feel more natural. This is one of the most important changes you can make. The reason is simple. If footage is over-sharpened, you cannot undo it. But if it's slightly softer, you can always add sharpening later if you want. -1 is a great balance. It keeps detail without pushing it too far. Noise reduction works the same way. Too much noise reduction removes fine texture and makes shadows look smeared. In bright conditions, setting noise reduction to -1 preserves detail. In darker environments, -2 helps maintain a cleaner image without destroying texture. The goal is not a perfectly clean image, but a natural one. While we're talking about getting the most out of the Action 6, I should mention something I've been using alongside it. Telesin sent me a few of their accessories made specifically for this camera, and the overall quality genuinely surprised me. Everything feels well thought out, solid, and clearly designed for people who actually use action cameras regularly. I've been testing a couple of their pieces during normal shooting, and they fit well, feel reliable, and don't get in the way of using the camera the way it's meant to be used. Telesin has been around for a long time in this space, and you can tell they understand what works in real-world setups. If you're looking to build a more complete Action 6 setup, their accessories are worth a look. I've left a link in the description if you want to check them out. Now, back to the camera itself. Now let's talk about Pro mode, because this is where the Action 6 quietly becomes much more powerful. One of the best upgrades with this generation is that 10-bit color is always active. You don't have to hunt for it anymore. Whether you're filming in a normal profile or a flat profile, you're already getting more color information than previous models. Exposure is where I usually make a small adjustment. Action cameras tend to expose a bit bright to protect shadows. Dropping exposure slightly around -0.3 helps protect highlights and adds depth to the image. Highlights roll off more smoothly and the footage feels less harsh. ISO on auto generally works very well. There's no need to lock it unless you're in extreme lighting. Aperture is something I usually leave alone as well. The camera does a good job managing it. White balance, however, is worth locking. Auto white balance is accurate, but it can shift mid-clip when lighting changes. That shift is noticeable and distracting. Locking white balance around 5600 Kelvin gives you a stable, neutral look in most daylight conditions. It prevents color jumps and keeps footage consistent. You can always adjust creatively later. If you want maximum flexibility, the flat color profile is the next step. Filming in a flat profile gives you more dynamic range and more control in post. Colors look washed out on the camera, but that's intentional. DJI makes this easier by offering color recovery in the Mimo app. You don't need to be a color grading expert. You can recover color with a single tap or apply a LUT that matches your style. One very useful feature is the color preview. Even when filming flat, the camera can show you a preview of what the graded image will look like. This helps you frame shots confidently without guessing how the final image will turn out. Now let's talk about aspect ratio, because this is one of the most underrated upgrades on the Action 6. You are no longer locked into rotating the camera physically to shoot vertical video. You can choose landscape, portrait, or square directly in the camera. This changes how you shoot completely. If you know you're filming for short-form content, portrait mode makes sense. If you want flexibility, square mode is surprisingly powerful. You can shoot once and crop later for multiple formats. Crop guides make this even easier. They show you exactly how your footage will look in different formats while you're filming. This helps you compose better shots and avoid cutting off important details. The big takeaway here is that none of these settings are about making things complicated. They're about removing small limitations. You set them once, learn how the camera behaves, and then stop thinking about menus altogether. The Action 6 is already a strong camera. These changes simply let it show what it's capable of. Better motion, cleaner detail, more natural colors, and footage that feels deliberate rather than automatic. If you're new, don't rush this. Change one or two things, go shoot, and see how it feels. Over time, you'll build confidence with the camera and it will start working with you instead of just for you. That's the real goal. Set it up once, trust it, and focus on capturing moments instead of fighting settings. If you want deeper tests, real-world comparisons, and long-term use updates, those are coming. For now, enjoy shooting with the DJI Action 6, and I'll see you in the next one.